Today, we're digging into a question that seems to be on everyone's mind. Why are the world's biggest superpowers, the US, Russia, and China, suddenly obsessed with a giant island of ice? As you're about to see, the answer could literally reshape the next century. And it was really this comment that threw the whole issue into the spotlight, sending absolute shockwaves through the world of geopolitics. Now, it might sound like something out of a different era, but believe me, this was anything but a random remark.
So, yeah, this is the big question we're going to unravel today. The scramble for Greenland isn't just some land grab. We're talking about military power, technological dominance, and who controls the future of global trade. The answer is way more important than you might think.
Okay, let's dive right in. And to do that, we first have to understand what Greenland actually is. Because man, this place is a land of incredible contrasts. First off, you gotta appreciate the sheer scale of this place. We're talking about the world's largest island. It's bigger than Mexico, Indonesia, and Saudi Arabia combined. I mean, that is a massive piece of planetary real estate. But here's the paradox. A whopping 80% of that massive area is buried under a colossal sheet of ice, up to 2 kilometers deep in some spots. We're not talking about a pretty winter wonderland here. This is an icy, inhospitable wasteland where temperatures can plunge to minus 50 degrees Celsius. And all that ice means there's very little room for people. The entire population is just 57,000. That's about the size of a small town, and they're all huddled together on the coast. So you have this gigantic, almost completely empty landmass, which at first glance makes all this intense global interest seem, well, kind of baffling. Now, here's what's so fascinating. This isn't some new obsession. The US first tried to buy Greenland way back in 1867, right after they bought Alaska. They tried again in 1910. And then in 1946, President Truman offered what would be over $1 billion today. So yeah, this has been on America's strategic shopping list for a long, long time. All right, so let's get to the most obvious piece of the puzzle: national security and raw military power. Just pull up a globe, and you'll see it instantly. Greenland sits right at the top of the world, a critical piece of real estate parked directly between the United States and Russia. From a military perspective, whoever has a foothold here has a massive advantage over the entire Arctic. And the thing is, the US is already there. At Patuxent Space Base, they have this incredible piece of technology. Think of it as America's tripwire. It's the very first line of defense, designed to spot any ICBMs coming over the North Pole from Russia. Losing access to that would leave the US mainland dangerously exposed. So here's the problem. That strategic position is starting to look a little shaky. Greenland has a really strong independence movement. And a newly independent country with no army of its own might just decide it wants the US base gone. Or it could be swayed by Russian or Chinese investment. That uncertainty has Washington deeply worried. But is this whole thing just about military bases? Not even close. The real frenzy, the real gold rush, is about what's hidden beneath all that ice. We're talking about a treasure trove that could define the technology of our future. To get why this is such a big deal, look at this. Right now, China has a near monopoly on what are called rare earth elements. These are the essential minerals for basically everything, from your smartphone to fighter jets. And Beijing is already using this dominance as a weapon, limiting exports to pressure Western countries. And that is exactly why Greenland is the new frontier. It holds the world's 8th largest reserve of these exact elements. We're talking neodymium for electric vehicles, gallium for AI chips, even uranium for nuclear power. For the West, Greenland is seen as the single best shot at breaking China's monopoly. And it doesn't even stop there. Geologists estimate that there are over 31 billion barrels of oil under just one part of Greenland's coast. The potential economic prize here is just astronomical. Okay, so we've covered military bases and untold riches. But now we get to the most important reason of all, the one that could fundamentally reshape the entire map of our world. You see, for centuries, the Arctic was an impassable wall of ice. But as that ice melts, a legendary shipping lane, one that explorers died trying to find, is now opening up for the first time in human history. And this new route is set to completely revolutionize global trade. For a ship going from Asia to Europe, the Northwest Passage shaves off 9,000 kilometers and up to 15 days of travel time, compared to using the Suez Canal. We're talking about saving millions of dollars in fuel and time on a single voyage. And if you look at a map, Greenland sits right at the entrance to this new economic superhighway. The nation that controls Greenland effectively becomes the gatekeeper. It's the 21st century equivalent of controlling the Suez or Panama canals. It's a massive deal. So, now the full picture is clear. You've got military dominance, technological resources, and control of global trade all wrapped up in one icy package. The stakes are immense. But what happens if this competition goes too far? Well, the consequences would be catastrophic. A forced takeover of Greenland would be a direct attack on Denmark, a NATO ally. That could potentially destroy the entire alliance. It would shatter centuries of trust between the US and Europe, risk an environmental disaster, and set a terrifying new global precedent that powerful nations can just take whatever they want. So you see, this isn't just some political squabble over a remote island. The decisions being made right now by the US, Denmark, Russia, and China about Greenland, these will define the coming century.
Ultimately, the melting ice of the Arctic isn't just revealing new shipping lanes and untold riches, it's revealing new global fault lines. The question of who controls Greenland is really a question of who controls the future. And that, well, that leaves all of us standing on very thin ice.